To start with your photograph, you're going to crop it to a square. I'm going to crop it to a 3 by 3. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to select your portrait. You can use any selection tools that you want, whatever you find easiest, but make sure you get the entire portrait, along with the shoulders, all the way down to the bottom of the image. I'm also going to refine my edge, just to make it as clean as possible, and smooth it a little bit as well. Once you're happy, click OK. I'm going to hit Command J to put it on its own layer. I'm going to rename this Original. I'm going to hit Command J again and title it Black and White Original. And then I'm going to turn this black and white by going to Image, Adjustments, and Black and White. Click OK. I'm then going to hit Command J again and title this one Face Contrast. And hit Command J one more time and title it Hair Contrast. At this point, if you have a jacket that you would want to, or a shirt, or a scarf, or earrings, or sunglasses that you would want to make an additional layer for, you would want to do that now. So perhaps maybe I will make one more layer. I'm just going to put it right below my face layer and title it Jacket Contrast, just so I can make sure I have everything the way I want it to. At this point, just so I can block out the background, I'm going to add a new blank layer, title it Background Color, and fill it with my paint bucket. Any color you want, we can always change it later. So from here, I'm going to start with my hair contrast layer, and I'm going to make my adjustments for the hair so I have an extreme of white and black for our high contrast portrait. So I'm going to hit Command L on my keyboard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start actually with the midtones, especially if you have really dark hair. Anyone who's got jet black hair, or in your photograph it looks very, very dark. You would want to start with your midtones to lighten it up a little bit. Then add your highlights until you start to see some white in the hair. And then I'm going to drag my shadows over. And you kind of have to go back and forth to get the best image possible. Remember, we're only paying attention to the hair, because notice that the portrait is getting a little bit too blown out. Or completely black and white. Once I'm happy, I'm going to click OK and turn that layer off. I'm then going to go to my face layer, hit Command L again, and I'm going to start with my highlights. I'm going to keep going until some of the details start to disappear, and then I'm going to bring my shadows over. Just paying attention to the face. If I think it gets too gray, I can move my white slider over a little bit. You can adjust your midtones until you get something that you like. But essentially, you want black and white. You want as little gray as possible. Once you're happy, you're going to click OK. Last but not least, I'm going to do the jacket. Hit Command L. And I think I might start with the shadows to lighten up his jacket, just because it is a little bit on the darker side. Bring over my whites until I start to see some white. I'm going to go back with my black. Go back and forth. If you want to start over, like I'm going to do right now, hit Alt and choose Reset. See what I can do with just starting with the highlights. Till you get something you like. Okay. Now I'm going to turn my layers back on. I'm going to start on my hair contrast layer in order for us to see our face properly on one layer, so we can see one layer, and then I can also see my jacket as well. So I'm going to hit my layer mask button. Notice it's white, so we're going to paint with black, and I'm going to use a fuzzy brush. soft edge. I'm going to paint over the part of the face with black. That I want to see the face underneath. But since I also want to see my jacket, I'm going to erase that as well. So I'm going to erase all the way down here. Careful around your hairline because that tends to get a little bit strange when you're trying to blend a nice hairline. So you may have to go back and forth again. If you make a mistake, you can press X on your keyboard to switch between black and white, or you can just switch it to white and add back in whatever you erased too much of. And then I'm going to go down to my face contrast layer because I do have that jacket. And I'm going to choose my layer mask again. And from here, all I need to do is erase my jacket because that's the only thing that I need to see below that layer. I'm just going to paint away. Just be careful once I get to the neck. Make sure I get all this good stuff erased away. And once you're happy with what you have, we can move on. So now I have the good hair, and I have the good face, and I can see the good jacket below. So at this point, we're ready to add our color. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit our half black, half white adjustment circle down here, and we're going to choose solid color. I'm going to choose a color. I'm going to start with the hair. You can start any way you like, but I'm going to start with the hair. Remember, your hair should be a little bit darker of a color than your skin tone. I'm going to first switch it to multiply, and I'm going to rename this to say hair color so I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to click on my layer mask. I'm going to hit Command I to inverse it, and then we're going to paint with white to bring that color back. So I'm just going to hit X to switch my color, or you can just choose white. For this, I am going to paint with a hard-edged brush. Before I do that, I am going to Command click on one of my portrait layers to make a selection around my person's body so I don't have to, worry about coloring outside the lines. And then I'm just going to paint away, just starting with the hair. If you make a mistake, all you have to do is switch to black and paint it away. If at any point you want to change your color, all you have to do is double click on the color picker box and switch your color. Makes it very simple. So at this point, I'm now going to add another layer. So I'm going to deselect, and I'm going to hit my half black, half white layer adjustment again, choose solid color again. I'm going to pick a color now for the skin tone. Make it a little bit lighter than the one that I currently used. And I'm going to click OK. Rename it to say face or skin color. Change it to multiply. Click on the layer mask, switch it to black by hitting Command I. And I'm going to Command click on my portrait again and paint with white. And I'm going to start by painting everything but keeping myself clear around the hairline. So that I can use the color hairline to help me not paint right over it. To do all of this first, don't paint the teeth, don't paint the whites of the eyes, paint over the eyebrows. Then what I'm going to do in order to get the perfect hairline, I am going to Command click on my hair layer mask. So it makes a selection of the hair. I'm going to do select, inverse to swap it. Then all I have to do is paint, and I don't have to worry about painting over top of my hairline. And you can do this for any of your other layers to make sure that you don't overpaint anything as well. From here on out, you're going to make color layers for each of the rest of the white parts of your image. So anything white needs to have a color except for your eyes and your teeth, obviously. At this point, you're ready to make your background. So I'm going to go down to my background color layer. I'm going to make a new blank layer, title it Design. And again, you can do this any way that you want. I'm just going to use some simple brushes that I have to make my background. Once you have your background, you are ready to start the rest of your portrait. So from this point, all we need to do is merge all of our layers into one after you have it saved. So I'm going to choose all of my layers, clicking the first one, hitting Shift, going down to my background color. Command E to merge them together. Now you're going to open up a new 9x9 document. If you haven't done so already, you're going to use your guidelines and set them up at 3 inches and 6 inches. And your vertical guidelines at 3 inches and 6 inches. Using your Move tool, we're going to take our portrait and drag it into our blank document and resize it using Shift to fit in our first square. All I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Alt on my keyboard and drag my next one over. I'm going to do the same thing again. Continue doing that until you get all 9 filled. Rename each one to be its place in the grid. At this point, we are going to add our changing the color for each one of our portraits. So we're going to use a hue saturation layer for each one of our layers. So we're going to hit the hue saturation button above each one of our portraits. We're going to hit the clipping button so that it only affects that one portrait. And I want you to move your hue saturation slider until it changes color. Go to your next portrait, hit hue saturation, hit your clipping button, and change your color. Each one should look completely different. And then you're going to work your way all the way down, changing the color as you go. Last two things, you're going to blank layer, title it Signature. You're going to add your signature to your document. Though I don't have mine, so I'm just going to put this over here, pretend it's my signature. And if you want to, you can make white rectangles for the white lines like we see on our Marilyn Monroe. And I'm just going to shift that over using my Move tool. And then I'm going to Alt click and copy that. So I have the same width for each one. I'm going to copy those, rotate them, and there I have my lines. And you're done.